Welcome back, Endgame community. I'm Pierre, here to help you with some more waiver wire picks. We're going to talk about the top hitters heading into now week 7 of the fantasy baseball season. So let's get into it. Now, the first player I want to mention is somebody I'm pretty sure I mentioned last week. I don't care, it bears repeating. Alek Thomas, outfielder for the Arizona Diamondbacks, was called up just a couple of weeks ago. And if you spent some fab on him early, well, that was a good decision because now it's going to cost you even more to get him probably. He's only 34% rostered. I personally not only added him in a couple leagues, but I spent about a third of my budget in the Great Fantasy Baseball Invitational, which, if you're not familiar, that's a huge analyst-only tournament that goes year-round. Been in it for a couple of years. It is hard to get good players in that league because it's a 15-team league filled with sharks. And so I said, I'm not going to miss on this guy because I missed out on a lot of those waiver wire picks. He's hitting a 323 since he's been up playing every day. He's got 2 homers, 4 RBIs. He does have good speed. He hasn't stolen a base yet, but the opportunity is going to come. He's going to bring you some speed as well. I would like to see him hitting higher in the order. Not sure if that's going to happen real soon. He's been hitting either 7th or 8th. Arizona, of course, not a great offense, but as I'll talk about with my next pick, they're starting to come around, and this is part of the reason, kind of injecting some life into this offense. So Alek Thomas, if he's still available in your league, I recommend you add him as soon as possible. Now, believe it or not, I'm going to follow up with another Diamondback, definitely a first for this season. So Christian Walker has actually been one of the hottest hitters in the league, and yet 17% of fantasy teams have him on roster, and he's still kind of just a forgotten guy. Well, there's a reason for that. His StatCast numbers are a lot, and I mean a lot better than his real life numbers. This is a guy who's only hitting 219. Not that long ago, he was below 200. He still strikes out quite a bit, and even though he does have 9 home runs, he only has 18 RBIs behind it. And of course, Arizona has been a bad team. So here's the thing. His expected stats are so good, you've got to figure positive regression is coming, and it has been coming. He's got 3 homers in the last 3 games, but talk about a guy who has a barrel rate, an X slugging, and X WOBA, all 96th percentile or higher. That's not just good, that is incredibly good. So if he keeps scorching the ball the way he is, good things will keep happening. We know he has power. Never been a guy to get to that plateau of hit, 30 plus home runs, have a breakout season really. He's just never been a high batting average player. So I'm not going to promise you that he's going to all of a sudden zoom up near 300 because yes, he should see some positive regression, but he's never going to be a guy who just hits for average. But the power has really developed this year. So again, if this offense kind of starts clicking and some of those pieces fall into place, again, not promising the moon here, but this is a guy you definitely should ignore the season-long stats, look what he's doing lately, and you can pick him up at the very least, stream him while he's hot. All right, let's talk about another veteran that has been kind of on a mini power binge lately. That is Kole Calhoun of the Texas Rangers. Another team that's not too good. Another veteran that has had some down seasons. Easy to forget about him. He had some moments when he was with the Angels. He had some good seasons, but he's been a very streaky hitter throughout his whole career. He'll have a really good half and then just a really terrible half. He kind of alternates. It's all or nothing with this guy. Didn't start off too well this season, but now catching fire a little bit. Also 3 homers in a 3-game span. And Texas, well, they still got some work to do on the whole. But there is talent in place there. So Calhoun is going to get regular playing time because, well, they signed him for a reason and they don't have a lot else behind him. We know he's got pop. He's only hitting 229 for the season. So again, kind of like Christian Walker here, the season-long stats really don't jump out. A lot of people are just ignoring him. But what I look at least a lot of times, is how is somebody progressing as the season goes on. So we look at what's called a rolling X WOBA. That would be expected weighted on base average. How is a player performing in terms of what StatCast says he should be doing? So for the past 50 plate appearances, he is up 203 in his X WOBA. That's a big jump. He's one of the top in that category. In other words, he's playing a lot better lately, just to break it down in plain English. But right now, Calhoun is a solid 4th outfielder utility bat that you can add for nothing. He should be available, and probably nobody else is scooping him up, so you can at least add him for the short term. And now let's stay in Texas again. So Mitch Garver, the catcher for the Rangers, who they acquired from the Twins, is on the IL. So they do have a pair of catchers who are talented offensively. Jonah Heim has been playing semi-regularly this season to good results, but they just called up Sam Huff, who at one time was a top 100 prospect. So Huff is a guy who can play catcher or first base, but of course, more importantly, he qualifies at catcher. I don't know if you noticed this, if it's just me, catcher is truly a wasteland this year. Like we always say, it's a rough position for offense. This year is like no other. I know, kind of a dead ball season. So look, if this is a young catcher coming up with a chance to do something, I say it's worth a risk. He's going to be available everywhere. So especially if you're in a 2-catcher league, he's practically a must-add just to give him a shot at this point. But take a look at Huff and see if he's available. And then there's probably a smaller chance that Adley Rutschman is available, but got to give you some hope off the farm. So if Adley Rutschman, the catcher for the Orioles, who hasn't played yet because of injury, if he does show up on your waiver wire, go ahead and add him, even in a single catcher league. Look, this was the #1 overall pick in the draft a couple years ago, top prospect. So he's got the pedigree, he's got the opportunity. He's going to step right in and start as soon as he does get called up. Robinson Chirinos, the veteran, has been holding down catcher for Baltimore. He's got the 2nd worst expected batting average and the 3rd worst expected slugging in the majors. He's rehabbing, he's playing in the minors, looking good. So any day now, Rutschman could get the call and he will instantly be a top 10 catcher. We'll see how he adjusts to major league pitching, but this is a guy who there's really no concern about his transition. 52% roster right now, so a lot of people have been holding him, stashing him in the IL, but there's a lot of people who just didn't have the patience or maybe needed those spots for someone else. So if you see Rutschman available, even if you don't really need a catcher, which you do because, like I just said, there's really no good catchers these days in fantasy, add Rutschman now. And then one last prospect to talk about. Look, I mentioned the Cardinals a few times already, and I know I talked about Nolan Gorman a couple of weeks ago. Been ripping it up in the minors, hitting home run almost every game. High-end prospect. We're waiting for him to get the call. Paul DeJong playing so bad he got sent down, and it wasn't Gorman who got the call. Instead, it was Brendan Donovan. All right, so not nearly as exciting, but guess what? It might have been the right move because Donovan has been playing really well. Since DeJong got sent down, he has played 7 of 8 games, starting there to fill in for DeJong, and he's hitting .323 with a homer, 5 RBIs, and a stolen base. He qualifies at second base and shortstop. Middle infield, you could always use some offensive help. So Donovan is a guy that wasn't really much on the radar, but he's playing well. He might actually stick. So Gorman, we'll see if he does get called up at some point, but right now, Donovan is the guy that you should be interested in. All right, those are my waiver wire picks for hitters heading into week 7. Hopefully that helps. Guys, join us because all season long, we're here to help you. Leave us a comment. Of course, join us on Discord. We talk baseball and football. Information in the description below. All right, thanks for watching.